The only meeting between legends Katsuyori Shibata and Jun Akiyama took place on August 4th, 2005 at Tokyo Ryogoku Kokugikan. You wouldn't expect a somewhat arbitrary first-round match between a 25-year-old freelancer who recently left New Japan just as he was finally starting to get pushed, and a 35-year-old former GHC heavyweight champion who was very obviously advancing to the semifinals to be the 2005 match of the year, especially since it was only 13 minutes 46 seconds and was underneath a dreadful Great Muta victory over Akebono. Keiji Muto co-promoted this otherwise awful Grand Prix tournament with Pride and K1 under the Wrestle-1 banner during his All Japan days, years before he left All Japan and created a new promotion that he also decided to call Wrestle-1. While we were lucky to have been spared from the torture of the Bob Sapp vs. Greg Muta tournament final, due to this endeavor being canned after the subsequent October 2nd, 2005 second round show, W1 will always be remembered for shocking us with his tremendous, unique, hate-filled sprint between Shibata and Akiyama. It's hard to remember the last time an actual grudge match even remotely approached the intensity of this random one-off. Nothing from the transcript of Shibata vs. Akiyama would jump off the page. In fact, this would probably be a forgettable match in lesser hands, as all Shibata imitations tend to be. The greatness of this match stemmed from their ability to immediately make you feel like you were seeing something you weren't supposed to, sweeping the audience away in the illusion of a super aggressive, out-of-control fight. It was a relentless adrenaline rush classic that felt informed by Bruiser Brody's aggressive brawling, even though stylistically, it was closest to a looser interpretation of the UWF style. It's mostly strikes, submissions, and suplexes, but they achieved their goal of sustaining a violent fight for the duration, rather than trying to be shoot wrestling in any clinical sense. They understood that in order to maintain the illusion of a real fight, they needed to keep their unique shoot brawl plausible by constantly going all out, pouncing on any opening or opportunity, and taking the open shot the opponent's positioning dictated. These are the tenets of MMA, but they applied them more like a street fight. It's not a particularly technical match despite some credible submissions, nor what one would associate with a pro wrestling street fight, despite one excellent out-of-the-ring segment, but they went all out to knock each other out. Shibata played the brash youngster who wanted to upset the apple cart by taking out the superstar, while Akiyama was more out for the kill, wanting to avenge the affront caused by Shibata's amazing initial barrage. This was by no means an eloquent match, but it's a rare one where they made you believe that these guys were really beating the hell out of each other from the get-go, and not exactly stable, under-control individuals. It felt like they were shooting on one another because they mostly fought the way they really would, immediately attacking the opponent rather than standing around as usual and politely facilitating another breather for both. The match definitely plays better the first time you see it because it really catches you off guard. It's not the conventional laid-back fluff you were expecting. You really feel how the urgency and aggression differs from the usual stuff that fails to make you consider that you might be seeing anything beyond the usual docile cooperation. The start of the match was fantastic, and definitely the first half in general was much stronger than the second half because it was more untamed. Huge underdog Shibata opened with a series of big kicks, setting the tone by really nailing Akiyama with a penalty kick, which shockingly resulted in Akiyama bleeding quicker than Johnny Grunge. The blood really helped because it wasn't a match where you were expecting anyone to bleed, and it happened immediately, feeling more unscripted and justifying the enraged Akiyama performance that followed. Akiyama was actually more urgent here than Shibata, because he was on the warpath. Shibata would take advantage of Akiyama being down to land another penalty kick, or just wait until he was vulnerable while getting up to land a series of knees to the midsection, but Akiyama had lost it and was rampaging, brawling through the crowd, and throwing non-folding chair after non-folding chair onto Shibata. The best and most motivated version of Akiyama was when he was coming up during the 90s heyday of All Japan, particularly in the great mid-90s tags that Toshiaki Kawada could lead. 21st century Akiyama rarely seems to actually want to be wrestling, but when he's actually in the mood, for instance the July 10th, 2004 Tokyo Dome match against Kenta Kobashi, he could still be great. Today, Akiyama was a madman going for the kill, delivering an impassioned emotional performance that we basically haven't seen from him before or since. The intensity here was awesome, and they roused the audience with an actual great fiery striking exchange that they truly appeared to be trying to win by firing as fast as they could. Akiyama escaped to the outside after a big knee to the midsection, and referee Kyohei Wada did his best to prevent Shibata from falling him to the floor, but Shibata pushed Wada out of the way and dropped a punch off the apron. Shibata tried to fight through accidentally kicking the ring post, but Akiyama hoisted him up and tossed him onto the announcer's table. Shibata did a great job of subtly selling the leg after kicking the post and getting chaired before he could get off the table, while still pushing through the pain like in a real fight. Akiyama could have attacked the knee after pile driving Shibata on the concrete, but he decided he'd rather just bash him in the head with a chair a few times. It's more damaging after all. Shibata tried to get up after this, but crumbled back down. This was the longest break of the match, as Akiyama waited for him in the ring, but avenged Shibata's knees with a huge running knee of his own as Shibata was re-entering. One of the reasons this felt like a real fight was that you couldn't just do what you wanted without consequences. Sometimes the opponent was happy to take one to create the possibility of finishing with their answer to it. For instance, when Akiyama finally hit a wrestling move out of a big striking exchange, the backdrop, Shibata held on to the headlock on impact and nearly finished him, immediately transitioning to the rear naked choke. There was a great segment where Akiyama hit a running knee, and Shibata fired back with a kneel kick that didn't do much because he was too close to Akiyama. But rather than wait around for Shibata to get back up, Akiyama just dove on Shibata's face with a knee drop. This is the kind of thing I want to be seeing in wrestling matches. Great urgency to hurt the opponent, just going all out to end it by whatever means necessary. This was all no respite, I can't wait to kick your ass kind of stuff. It was short, but they could have ended it sooner and still left everyone feeling like they got their money's worth, and then some. They felt they needed to include their favorite spots, despite it being the rare match where they managed to create the illusion of trying to kill one another. But the speed and urgency in which Akiyama ducked Shibata's penalty kick and quickly came back with his exploder while Shibata was off balance actually managed to preserve the illusion. The submission work wasn't the strength of the match, but at least maintained the air of shoot realism more than anything they could have done beyond just striking the entire time, which admittedly would have been better. The submissions lessened the feeling of hatred, but the goal was still to advance in the tournament. It got more conventional from here, but they were still doing their favorite moves extra fast to try to keep things believable, not forcing the opponent to stand around waiting to get hit. They also kept this finishing rush rather brief, which made it seem like their few big suplexes were actually big. Still, just throwing themselves at one another was a key factor that took it to the next level, and I would have rather seen more of that to maintain the uncontrolled nature, and had the finish be one guy pounding the crap out of the other until he could no longer respond. They kept you on the edge of your seat the whole time though, largely because it felt wild. Akiyama eventually won, dropping Shibata on his head with a particularly brutal exploder. It was intense and vicious from start to finish. Some people won't like that there's not much selling here, but this is a great example of how much more desperate and urgent a match can be by going all out to seize every opportunity, rather than play acting to try to worry mom. Shibata was really great here at blurring the line between pro wrestling and MMA. I wish there were a lot more matches in this style, and angry rampaging performances from Akiyama. I give this match 4.5 out of 5 stars.